My topic for tonight is about the major theoretical notions of learning by B.F. Skinner, the operant conditioning. So later, we will have a very short demonstration how operant conditioning works. Now, let's have first the theory of B.F. Skinner. Now, the theory of B.F. Skinner is based on the idea that learning is the function of change in overt behavior. So when we say overt behavior, these are the observable behaviors. These are the visible behaviors. Now, change of behavior is the result of individual response to events or stimuli that occurs in the environment. Now, when the stimulus response pattern is reinforced or rewarded, the individual is conditioned to respond. Now, reinforcement is the key element of stimulus response theory. Now, from the word itself, reinforcement, we have the so-called reinforcer. So, what is this reinforcer? So, reinforcer is anything that strengthens the desired behavior. It could be verbal praise, good grade or points, gold star, feelings of success, feelings of satisfaction, or anything that we considered as a reward. Now, there are two kinds of reinforcers. First is the positive reinforcer. These are the favorable events or outcomes that are presented after the behavior. So these are now the positive condition in which a person or a learner would be encouraged to do the same response over and over again because they experience a positive condition. Like for example, such as rewards, such thing like that. Now, for negative reinforcer, involve the removal of unfavorable events or outcomes after the display of a behavior. So, in negative reinforcers, these are the negative conditions in which a person would try to avoid by not doing the kind of behavior that would lead to negative experience or to a negative condition. Okay, so now operant conditioning is a systematic program of rewards and punishment to influence behavior or to bring about the desired response. Now, operant conditioning relies on two basic assumptions about human experience and psychology. First, a particular act results in an experience that is the consequence of that act. Second, the perceived quality of an act's consequence affects future behavior. In other words, or this will be explained like this. A response occurs which leads or which produces an outcome or consequence that most likely that response will be repeated again. Why? Because the outcome or the consequence, it has a positive outcome, it has a positive condition, a person experience a positive condition, so most likely that in the future, the response will be repeated time and again. Now, if the outcomes of a certain response, the person experienced negative condition, so most likely that response will not be repeated again. Or perhaps the response will be changed for that person to avoid that negative experience, that negative condition. Now, in other words, operant conditioning holds the central idea that the main influence of behavior are the person's external environment in which the behavior, his or her behavior, is programmed. Operant conditioning, whereas, deals with the learned behavior, not the reflexive behavior. Unlike the classical conditioning, it starts with the reflexive behavior. Start from the unconditioned stimulus, and then there is the unconditioned response. So learned behavior is not like that. In operant conditioning, it is already a learned behavior that just needs to be reinforced. Now, it works from reinforcing or rewarding and punishing. Now, reinforcement is used to increase the probability of that behavior to be repeated in the future, while punishment decreases that probability. Now, why operant? Operant because these are operations that the individual carries out to help him or her deal with the environment in some way. Why operant? Because these are active behavior that operates upon the environment to generate consequences. Now, B.F. Skinner described operant conditioning because these are operants that started from simple, in which it just had been transformed and shaped into more and more complex operants, to a more and more complex behaviors. Okay, now how the operant conditioning works. How the operant conditioning works. A rat is placed inside the box. Example, a rat is placed inside the box. A rat is placed inside the box. Inside the box is a lever which, if pressed, releases food pellet. And there is also the red button, the blue button, then the electric shock. Now, upon pressing the lever,